A major robbery incident in Canada, but this is not the first robbery. There have been major thefts at Canadian airports. Canadian police are investigating the theft of more than $1.5 million worth of precious metals and other valuables from the Toronto airport this week. This robbery is said to be one of the biggest heists in the history of the country. But this is not the first robbery of its kind in Canada, nor the first to happen at an airport. The audacious theft came this week after a high-value container disappeared while being transported to a cargo holding facility near Canada's busiest airport. Officials say the thieves gained access to a public area of a warehouse near Toronto Pearson International Airport where airport security is not normally present. Police say the theft, which is still under investigation, is a unique and very rare theft. While a robbery of this scale is indeed rare, a look at Canadian history shows that it is not the first of its kind. A mysterious gold brick heist that remains unsolved. Toronto Pearson International Airport has often been used as a hub for gold mining in the province of Ontario, and in September 1952 a mysterious robbery took place there. At the time Pearson was known as the Second Malton Airport. And from there the thieves were able to steal gold bars or bricks worth about 215,000 Canadian dollars at the time. Today they are valued at 2.5 million Canadian dollars. The gold bars were stored in steel crates before being loaded onto a plane bound for Montreal. From there, he was destined to be sent to Britain. But when the plane arrived in Montreal, only 4 of the 10 boxes of gold bricks were there, meaning 6 were missing. According to articles published in the Toronto Star at the time, the robbers were never seen. Since the heist that took place 70 years ago, no suspect has been named. A police officer told reporters at the time that Sona appeared to have suddenly disappeared somewhere. Airport theft happens all the time, says Stacey Porter, an independent security consultant who reviews airport security. Airports are large facilities with many potential security vulnerabilities, especially in areas where bags and luggage are stored, he says. Cameras capture every moment at the airport where passengers are, but commercial airline cargo and large shipments by businesses are often kept in dark warehouses with little video surveillance. A flying bandit in Winnipeg and a stopwatch gang in Ottawa. Almost 50 years ago, the biggest gold heist in Canadian history took place, and it was done by Ken Leishman when he audaciously stole 385,000 Canadian dollars worth of gold from the Winnipeg airport in 1966. Of today it is estimated to be worth more than 3.3 million Canadian dollars. Leishman was one such thief who was nicknamed the Flying Bandit. It was learned from somewhere that Winnipeg was being used as a transit point for gold mining in northwestern Ontario, and from there the gold would be shipped to Ottawa. To carry out the heist, Leishman assembled a team of criminals who posed as gold salesmen and airline employees, then timed the incoming shipment and outwitted airport security. I managed to infiltrate. With the help of forged paperwork, Leishman and his accomplices managed to get hold of the shipment and fled the tarmac with the gold. But they were caught a few days later and Leishman was sent to prison. Since then, Leishman has notably turned his life around. After his release from prison, the trained pilot began ferrying patients from remote areas to city hospitals and died tragically in a plane crash in 1979. Mr. Porter says it is not surprising that an employee on the inside would help the thieves. He says detectives investigating the Toronto gold heist may be looking closely at any workers who had security access to areas where the valuables were kept. And for a serious amount like 200 million Canadian dollars, even the captain of the plane may come under suspicion. 8 years after the Winnipeg robbery, in 1974, an even larger gold heist took place, this time at the Ottawa International Airport. The Stopwatch Gang, a group of 3 criminals, was involved in bank robberies in both the US and Canada. The group stole 6 unrefined gold bars worth 7.5 million Canadian dollars, which is worth 4.3 million Canadian dollars today. The gang held the lone security guard there at gunpoint in the middle of the night and handcuffed him to a pipe before stealing the gold. The gold was stored inside a cage at a small padlocked freight terminal. The three were eventually caught, but only to escape from prison and commit more robberies in the United States before being arrested by FBI agents. The biggest heist of the century. Although Canada has an impressive history of gold theft, none of the thefts come close to what has been called the crime of the century in Britain. The theft of the gold bricks took place in November 1983 and is estimated to be worth around 26 million British pounds. In today's currency, that would be worth about 110 million pounds, or about 190 million Canadian dollars. The robbery took place when 6 armed men entered the Brinks Meat Depot near London's Heathrow Airport and were accompanied by a security guard. They committed the robbery in the hope of getting a large amount of foreign currency, but instead they got away with valuable gold, diamonds and cash. It took the police a long manhunt to trace all those involved in the heist, as the criminals took the help of many other criminals to convert the gold into cash. Many murders over the years have been linked to this robbery, while a few suicides have also been linked to it. Most of the gold was never recovered, while 4 of the 6 original robbers were never punished. The robbery was one of the biggest in world history at the time and had a lasting impact on both the British public and the police. A TV drama depicts the heist and its aftermath and states that, if you've bought gold jewelry in the UK since 1984, it's likely to have traces of Brinkmet gold. The biggest heist of the century. Although Canada has an impressive history of gold theft, none of the thefts come close to what has been called the crime of the century in Britain. The theft of the gold bricks took place in November 1983 and is estimated to be worth around 26 million British pounds. In today's currency, that would be worth about 110 million pounds, or about 190 million Canadian dollars. The robbery took place when 6 armed men entered the Brinks Meat Depot near London's Heathrow Airport and were accompanied by a security guard. They committed the robbery in the hope of getting a large amount of foreign currency, but instead they got away with valuable gold, diamonds and cash. It took the police a long manhunt to trace all those involved in the heist, as the criminals took the help of many other criminals to convert the gold into cash. Many murders over the years have been linked to this robbery, while a few suicides have also been linked to it. Most of the gold was never recovered, while 4 of the 6 original robbers were never punished. The robbery was one of the biggest in world history at the time and had a lasting impact on both the British public and the police. A TV drama depicts the heist and its aftermath and states that, if you've bought gold jewelry in the UK since 1984, it's likely to have traces of Brinkmet gold. The stone was used in the crowning of kings in Scotland for years until it was stolen and installed in the throne of King Edward I during the Wars of Independence. Many years after the incident, Anne Hamilton told the BBC in an interview that, the Stone of Destiny is a symbol of Scotland. During one of countless British invasions of Scotland, they stole this symbol of our nation. Bringing it back was also a symbolic act. So during the Christmas holidays, 4 university students set off for London in 2 old Ford cars. The other 2 members of the gang were Gavin Vernon and Alan Stewart. Their plan was to hide Anne Hamilton in a dark corner before the Abbey was closed, who would later open the door from the inside. However, the watchman saw them at night and forced them to go out. The watchman accepted their excuse that they were trapped inside by mistake. The next night they tried again. At 4 o'clock in the morning they parked one car nearby and drove the other car outside to the rear of Westminster Abbey. Matheson stayed in the car and the other 3 went to try to open the door. Kay Matheson later said that he was sure that the noise made in trying to break down the door would have been heard as far as London. They took out the stone and put it on the ground, and Anne took off her coat to drag it. Everyone grabbed one arm of the coat and Anne grabbed the chain attached to the stone. But as soon as they pulled the chain, the stone broke and split into two pieces. Anne said they picked up the smaller piece first, which weighed 40 kilograms, and ran. Kay saw them going out the door. At that time I was horrified when I saw a policeman. I realized that if Anne crossed the road with the stone, the policeman would see her. I got the car as close as I could and Anne put a stone on the back seat and put a coat over it. When the two of them had to leave after the policeman arrived, Gavin and Alan felt they had been left behind and escaped without picking up the other part. They did not know that Anne was now returning to the Abbey. The second car key fell out of NK's coat pocket, so they had to go back to look for it in the dark church. Fortunately, his foot landed on the key, which was lying near the door. But now Anne was left alone to carry the big piece of stone to the carriage.